Hello guys, I would like to start off this video by mentioning that I have been watching the poll and that some FiveM content will be out pretty soon. So one of my buddies asked me if I would do a templating or show them how to template. I figured putting it in a video to put out there because there's no easy, quick, and simple guides to how to template out there as well. You know, I have my own methods to how I template that I find easier because this is how I was shown. So that's why I'm making this video. So in this video, you will see me using prods bedcap. I did not feel like templating a whole car for this. If y'all start to get confused and y'all would like me to do a whole car, just comment down below, and I would not mind getting to it. But getting started, what we want to do is we want this bed cap split into pieces, because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to be able to come here and look at it from this side. So if we did that without cutting it up, you know, it would just template the whole thing on the one side, and you'll understand that more in a minute. So what we want to do is we want to cut it into back, front, top, left, and right. So we're going to hide all. We're going to open up our body shell. I only have one thing to cut up. So if you have doors, right, you know, you don't have to cut anything on your doors. Your hoods, if you want the front of your hood to be more easily, you know, textable, like maybe you're making like something for a North Carolina Highway Patrol car, right, in your template, you may want to cut that little bit off the top of your hood. Or if you're making an 01 Ram, you know, where it has that little cut off on, or where it has that little side thing on a hood, you know, that might be where somebody wants to put a unit number. Or if it's for a fire model, that might be where they want to put the truck number. So in situations like that, you may want to cut out the hood and other things like that as well. So if you do, just follow the same thing. And all that you'll end up doing is that when we flick on, you know, this left side, you'll just flick on, you know, the left front door, left rear door, left of the hood, so on and so forth. So, starting the cut off process here, I'm going to turn on auto, turn off all of this. I full screen it just so I have a better look. Now, I'm not going to put a lot of time in it just because it's a tutorial, and I'm not doing any editing to this because it's just supposed to be a quick down and dirty thing. But just keep in mind that the more attention to detail that you have here, the better your actual template will look. And yes, that does mean that in some of these models where, you know, they leave these side windows, or maybe they've left the interior attached to the body shell, while you can template with it, because it's only going to put the thing on this, you know, your actual template is going to look a little weird, because on the template, on the PG or on the PDN or whatever that everybody's going to look at when they're skinning this car, this is going to show up, and this is going to show up as a part of the template. Now when they, you know, put something on it, like if they put, you know, San Andreas Fire Department on here on the template, nothing's going to show up because it ain't going to change it. It's just, so to make your templates look neater, I suggest cutting stuff like that out. So, but let's just quickly go over here and cut this. So I always find it easier myself just to cut my back and then my top and then my sides, because I can cut my sides. By the way, if you don't know how to cut this stuff up, you can go to polygon mode, click on it. Like I said, I just deselect everything, stops mess ups. Highlight, click on detach, and then click on it again, and it detaches it from the model. So now that we have everything detached, what we're going to do is we're going to hide all. Again, we are going to go to UV mapper, and I always just like to start from the way that this is laid out. So we're going to go front. I do not have anything for the front, so mainly the main times you're going to template stuff for the front is a lot of times when you're working on fire trucks. You'll template from the front, or if you cut up that hood, that way you could, you know, template the front of that hood a little bit more high texturedly and stuff like that. That's when you'll use the front. A lot of times, though, you won't have anything to template on the front. So, moving on to the left, what you'll want to do is you will want to open everything that you want on your left view. That will include left doors, the left body panels, left of the bed, whatever you're doing. And right here, I always suggest, especially when you're templating, to have wireframe, solid, flat solid, bone and skeleton, rig transformation, weight paint, mesh deform, texture, animation, and light. That way it looks just like this. And the reason for that is if I accidentally click on the one for the other side, I will be able to see that this is not the correct side, because I'll see that in here it's black, or maybe it has deep interior bits or stuff like that. So that's why I always suggest doing that. What we're going to do, we're not going to have our detach or anything selected, we're just going to have auto selected. We're going to highlight it away from the model, and the reason I say away from the model is I want you to get in the habit of doing that, because most of the time when you're templating, you're going to have multiple things that have to be highlighted. Like on this bed cap, I could right click on it, but let's say I had a bed cap in a bed, or a bed cap, a bed, and a door, and a body shell, right? If I just clicked on the bed cap, I'm only going to map the bed cap. If I click out here in nothing land, then I'm going to get the bed cap, the door, the body, so on and so forth. So we're going to right click out here in nothing land, mapping, edit UV. This is where you want to make sure your settings are set up correctly. So you always want to map to channel 2. You want to generate new from viewpoint XY, because if you do XYZ, you will not have a fun time. I've done that before on accident. If you're templating like, the bed of a fire truck to the cab, then you want to force mapping onto material. If you're just doing like I am, or like if you're templating a solid colored vehicle because it ain't set up to be multicolored, then you don't have to turn that on. So just to make what I said a bit simpler, if it has 2 or more textures or paints attached to whatever you're doing, then you want to turn this on, and then you'll want to force it to a map. But if you do not, if it's just one flat shade, then you do not need to force it onto a mapping. So since I don't need to force it onto a mapping, I'm just going to deselect that, and I'm going to select OK. Next, I'm going to come down to materials. I'm going to go to body paint, and let me make sure. Yep. So usually it'll be like paint 1 is the one you'll want to select. This is set up to be attached to a car, but even you can see body paint set as vehicle material. So what you'll want to do is you'll always want your move, so you'll want your move tool on, and you'll just want to grab this and just yeet it out here into the stratosphere, because we're going to bother with templating everything. So I'm going to hide all. I'm going to go top. I'm going to find everything that I have for the top. It's just that. I'm going to highlight it, nothing land, mapping, edit UV. Now everything should be set up correctly. So from this point on, I can just click OK, drag into nothing land. The only thing you don't want to do is you do not want these to just overlap. And the reason for that is because if this is overlapped in a way where I cannot get over it, then I either have to Control Z to a point where I can grab a hold of it, or I just have to re-UV map it. And now the good news is, if you were to make a mistake, it is as simple as click up here, go to like 3D or something, and then click back to UV mapping, and it will forget that you did anything. So since I just did that to show y'all, I'm going to go back to left view. I'm going to map my left, come down here to my materials, slide that into nothing land. Now I'm going to do, oh yeah, that thing that I had told y'all about, by the way, the thing that I told y'all about the window thing, it doesn't matter quite as much when you're doing the force, or when you're not forcing anything on. Now when you are forcing stuff on, that's when it's going to start to matter, just so y'all know. I don't think I mentioned that little exception there. But I mean, honestly, it's still in your best habits to do that, because like I said, the more attention to detail, the better outcome you're gonna have, and the better everything's gonna look, and the more likely people are going to be happy with your product. Because let's face it, most of the people that are watching this either are or want to sell their models at some point in time. They either want to free release them or they want to sell them. Not very many people watch these videos to make 2 or 3 cars for their server. That might be what it starts out as, but that's never what it ends as. Look at me as an example. So we're just gonna map all of our sides here, and now that we have all of our sides mapped, what we're going to do is we are going to come in here, and now this is something that really grinds my gears, I would say. Also, turn off auto when you're doing this part. That way you don't deselect it, or you can't deselect it. Something that really grinds my gears is people not aligning their stuff. So just make sure that it looks similar. A car is a bit easier to align because they all have the same, body shapes. But, make sure, like I like to try to measure length for length. So I know that that's good. And is it going to measure up on this side? No, it is not. So I'd probably make that just a tad bit bigger, Is this side going to measure up to this side? So now it looks like it's probably going to measure up pretty decently. The reason for this is, once again, customer satisfaction. It's going to make their life much easier if they have the ability to just, rotate by 90 degrees or flip their vertex, and then they can just copy everything they put on here onto there. It makes for better skins, and it makes for a better template if everything's lined up and scaled the same way. Now, this, usually it's a white square. I don't know why it's a gray on this model. But anything in this little square that's a different color than whatever you have your background set to, that is what's going to show up on your template. Don't ever scale on the Z file or on the Z thing. It just, in my opinion, it kind of just screws some stuff up. So you'll want to put that in that square. Take auto, deselect it, select your next item, auto, and now we're just doing a quick little template, so I'm not gonna bother. Now you can sit here for days and figure out the best way to align it, and if you're willing to do that, I mean, I am full force on your team, because I like to do that with my templates. Have me a little spot to put a little logo up there, have me a little spot to put a little, spread and joy thing down here, stuff like that too. I like to really make my textures pop in work, because I don't really do very good lighting. I mean, I have a hard time setting up my lighting and everything too. I still have to watch a YouTube video similar to this one to do my lighting. I have to watch one that my buddy Alex made. So what he did was he sat down with me and he did some lighting with me, and I recorded it. I'm not going to release that unless he gives me permission, but even then I'd have to do some very much editing to it. But I still have to watch that. So a part of the way, I'm a big 2-stage lighting fan. So I run 2-stage lighting on all my cars, and most of my lights are set up poorly because, well, I don't have that much experience, and I still have to watch a video to set them up. So a lot of the way that I compromise for not, 100% quality lights is I get very particular about textures, and I get very particular about the way things are set up. And I do that because if I can bring the quality of the model itself out, I can bring that quality up, I can make it better than anything that Redneck or Red Saint or Ripple or any of them have put out, then it makes poor lighting more excusable, because you ain't just buying it for the lighting. And if you had amazing lighting mixed with amazing attention to detail, well, look, man, you'll be up there at the top, no problem, fairly quickly. So now that we're here, what we're going to do is we are going to highlight everything. Oh yeah, we're going to make sure you show all, by the way. We are going to highlight everything on here, everything on here. Next, we're going to come down to this neat little R button. That's your render UV button. We are going to click it. We are going to make sure that this is wireframe UV Atlas, because there's a couple different things. We are going to put our output image width to 4096 and our output image height to 4096. That is a 4K texture. Underlay texture, do not leave that blank. Over here is where you can change the color. You can really do any color you want. Most people are going to stick to your standard black and gray. Over here is what the color of override light color. Yeah, so over here is where your color will be for what your actual render will end up looking like. So like for example, now it's gonna be white with this setup, but if I render it with this one, you know, now you can see that it renders blue. So most people just do, you know, a standard gray with a black background. Okay, and that's what the standard is anyway. So once you have all that set up, you're going to come down here to render, and you are going to render it. Now you're going to save this wherever you like to save your stuff. So I'm just going to save it to the desktop. Okay, or you know what, we'll just save it inside the games folder just because we can. So what we're going to do with our file name is we're going to give it whatever first name we want. So I'm just going to do bedcap, but I mean you can do anything from, you know, 06 Tahoe to 99 Sierra, or, you know, for another example, you know, dogs are cute, whatever, it does not matter. But I'm just going to do bedcap. Now this is where it's going to start to matter. You're going to do underscore sign underscore 1. Basically what that's doing is that's giving it multi-livery support, because when you have it set up as a sign, then, you know, somebody can go through, they can have sign 2, they can have sign 3, they can have sign 4, so on and so forth. They can have multiple liveries with it. If you just did bedcap underscore template, like I see with some people doing, now they can only ever have one texture on this. They can only ever have one texture on whatever model you just templated. So always do underscore sign underscore 1. We're gonna save that. Now we can just exit out of this, put this back to whatever we normally do, and we have officially templated this bed cap. But to get it to show up and to get it attached to the bed cap, we still have a couple more things we need to do. So we need to go in here into our material browser. We need to find our paint material that we were editing on. For this case, it's going to be body paint underscore set underscore as underscore vehicle underscore material. So you always want it to be set to paint 3. That way you have multiple details. The way that you set it to paint 3, in case it's not set to paint 3, is you are going to come here. You are going to hover over GTA 5, hover over vehicle paint, and then click on vehicle underscore paint 3. And that is going to turn it into a paint 3. And it may crash. There we go. And now we're going to double click into it to manage its properties. And as you'll see, this is why we put it onto manual UV2, because Detail 2 is already looking for manual UV2. We're going to click up here, hold up, give me just a second. So we can go ahead and get that set up. Next, what we need to do is we need to import our texture. So we're going to come to our texture browser, click add, and then we are going to find where we put our other one at. I put it in my games folder, and now we're just going to open that in here. Now we can go to our material browser, click into here, and now we can click onto texture map, click on bedcap underscore sign underscore 1, and now exit out of this, press OK here, and as you can see, we have officially templated this bed cap. Now we're not 100% done yet, because we still need to put everything together. So we're going to find, none of this is LOD, so it doesn't matter which way I put it, but if it's LOD, then you always want to put non-LOD into LOD. So we're going to go to our top view, we're going to click attach, we are going to open everything up, and we are going to attach it all back where it needs to go. And now we have officially templated this thing, and this is a great time for Zmod to crash, ain't it? But so we've officially templated this bed cap. Now you can go on about your life. So this is a 20-minute video, but it's a 20-minute video because I sat here and I talked to y'all. I could have knocked this template out in 3 minutes because I kind of memorized these steps, and I'm hoping that by making a decently in-depth video where I kind of just laid backly explain everything, that hopefully y'all will get the gist of it and y'all be able to rewatch this video and learn from it, and even learn from my mistakes that I made in this video as well. So without further ado, I'll see y'all in the next video. I do believe that's going to be a GTA 5 video. It'll probably be another NCF video from the old NCF. Comment down below if you would like for NCF to come back, because that server is no longer a thing. I mean, I'll tell y'all that now. That server no longer exists. I've just been taking old recordings that I have from, like, you know, I think it's like late 2020 to early 2021 is when we kind of started the server. We shut it down in 2022. So between 2020 and 2022 is when all of that was recorded. So I mean, it's old stuff, like, you know, with old assets and stuff like that. But y'all seem to really love it. I appreciate y'all for getting one of my videos up to 4K views too. So comment down below if you think that I should restart that server, and if so, would you be interested in joining that server? But without further ado, I will let y'all go. Y'all have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.